So the name of this story is Ginger Pearl Cooks Comfort Food. And I'm going to set my timer to see how long this is. Now, some of you have never met my friend Ginger Pearl, and I hope you get the chance to, but just in case you don't, let me tell you a little bit about her. Now, first of all, you need to get it right out of your mind that I'm talking about her. According to our rules of storytelling, you aren't talking behind somebody's back as long as you aren't saying anything that you wouldn't say to their face. Now, Ginger Pearl, she never married, but she was the matriarch. That's kind of the Texas equivalent of a patron saint. She was the matriarch of family and community gatherings and caregiving. Ginger Pearl was one of those kind of people. Now, if her world had been set up just a little bit different, she probably would have been a highly paid or decorated intelligence officer. She could find out who might need new shoes or coat for the winter, which kids needed lunch money or school supplies, and she'd pair up somebody who needed work done with somebody looking for a job. Ginger Pearl was the hub in the wheel of Spangler. Now, she'd tell you too that a learning curve looks like a smile. At first, a person starts up here, and because they think they know a little bit more than they really do. And once they jump into things, things start to go down because it may not be as easy as they thought. And then things go down a little bit more because they start making mistakes. But if they keep trying, before long, they get the hang of it and things start looking up. And before you know it, a smile is born. Now, in mid-March of 2020, when COVID hit Spangler, to help slow the spread of this mysterious disease, people were asked to stay at home and wear a mask to cover their mouth and their nose whenever they had to go somewhere absolutely necessary. And Ginger Pearl thought, I can do that. Well, it turns out she could, but not forever. Extroverts have their limits on social isolation before they become susceptible to other dangerous maladies like cabin fever. Now, Ginger Pearl, she reached her breaking point around May. We all lost bets because none of us thought she could make it that long in isolation. That just goes to show you how strong Ginger Pearl is. She will always find a way to surprise you. Now, I do not think it was a coincidence that her break with isolation coincided with Mother's Day. Although Ginger Pearl wasn't a biological mother herself, she thought that role was one of the most important and traditionally undervalued roles in all the world. It was probably that nurturing voice inside of her that we heard exclaim, I just can't take it anymore. Ginger Pearl needs somebody to take care of. Now, from the reports of the frontline grocery store workers, Ginger Pearl had been meal planning and called ahead to make sure that everything she needed was in stock and waiting on her. It took 2 grocery buggies and 3 employees to load up her car. One of the high school kids who worked part-time to help her family out volunteered to follow Ginger Pearl home and unload everything for her. Now, Ginger Pearl accepted that offer, but she did give that kid a $100 tip. Now, word went through the grapevine that Ginger Pearl bought all the fixings for chicken fried steak, mashed potatoes, cream gravy, green beans, chicken and dumplings and banana pudding, Dr. Pepper ham, collard greens, field peas, scalloped potato casserole, macaroni and cheese, and the Texas chocolate sheet cake. The whole town's mouths just watered at the news. See, we all know for a fact that Ginger Pearl, with her constitution, she can't eat any of that stuff anymore. And word got around town that Ginger Pearl was cooking up a mess of food to give away. Now, you have to know how people had been feeling doing without Ginger Pearl's cooking at gatherings for almost 2 months now. I think in some cases that feeling that people were having is called jonesing because someone had something that they were doing without. Well, people started calling Ginger Pearl and hinting around. Now, she'd be polite and ask them questions, but she was being tight-lipped about the Ginger Pearl comfort food event she was planning. Well, that's what we started calling it. Ginger Pearl, she wasn't saying a word. Well, I called her up directly finally and said, Ginger Pearl, you can't eat all this food anymore. Why are you cooking it? And she told me, honey child, my body may not find comfort in eating this food anymore, but my soul is comforted by the cooking and feeding people who need it and who'll enjoy it. That is Ginger Pearl. We all started taking bets on who she was going to have to be the recipients of all this comfort food. Some people were making bets on their wishful thinking, but Ginger Pearl had found out who in town was getting hungry during this shutdown. She found out what households had taken in family and friends, and who'd all lost their homes and were living in state parks and such. She also did reconnaissance on the guidelines restaurants use for to-go orders and got what she needed from a connection she had at a restaurant supply company. She sanitized her kitchen, masked up, gloved up, and set to work. And on Sunday morning, May 10th, 2020, she delivered meals and flower corsages like they used to give on Mother's Day in that little church that she grew up in. But Ginger Pearl, she gave flowers to everybody that day. Now, another thing about Ginger Pearl, nothing she ever did was a one-off kind of thing. She started a trend. And over the summer, the outdoor community barbecues were the big thing. It was organized like school lunchroom should be. Pay what you can or eat for free, pick up or delivery. And community cooking in Spangler began to fund itself. The band students started practicing in the town square or in the yards of shut-ins. Donations for live, socially distanced education brought more musical instruments for kids looking to learn something new during the lockdown. Now, people were adopting their neighbors, whether they lived next door or down the road, all following as many safety precautions as they could, just in case, understanding that it's difficult for some people to believe in things they can't see. But washing your hands a lot and wearing a mask over your mouth and nose isn't too much to ask in the larger scheme of things. By Thanksgiving and Christmas, Spangler had made the good news with a headline about a community who takes care of their own. There wasn't one single word in that write-up or video about Ginger Pearl, and I promise you, she wouldn't have had it any other way. I'm only telling you this right now because people tend to think that things like this just happen. But I tell you what, they don't. It takes somebody to make the first move in the direction to create a movement. Now, I'm not the only one who knows how lucky we are to have Ginger Pearl, our unofficial community leader, who moves us all in a more loving and caring direction.